Hi, ladies. Welcome to our new episode of Tell the Truth on Your Identity docuseries. Today, we are here with Ashlee. She's going to be sharing her story of identity and truth. And without further ado, here is Ashlee.
Hey, Ashlee. My name's Quinn.
Yes. A little different spelling, but you know.
That's all right. But we're still both amazing human beings because we were blessed.
You're right.
Oh, boy. Thank you for having me. It means a lot that I get a chance to share my experience in this story. And I think especially coming from my perspective, a lot of people have kind of looked at the outside package. So they'll see me as, this attorney and, well, you grew up in a two-parent household and you have a good relationship with your older sister and everything in between. So what could you possibly know about mental health?
Right.
Or mental health struggles, excuse me. And I'm like, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care where you live, who you live with, how stable, unstable you are. It's gonna just hit you. And I think that with me, and nobody that's crazy, it stemmed from my perfectionism. It's weird to say that. I don't know, I don't know where this perfectionism tendency came from. Nobody ever told me to be perfect. It was always just do your best. But I literally remember being in kindergarten, and I'll never forget, I had a worksheet, and it had a seal bouncing different colored balls, and you had to just color in what the ball said. So one ball said blue, one ball said green, one ball said pink. Apparently, I didn't understand that, and I colored everything black. When I realized I did that wrong, I had a meltdown at the age of 5. I literally had a meltdown. And thank goodness my sister, she's 13 years older than me, and she's an amazing artist. She went back in, she scraped the black crayon off, and she retraced it so that I can do it right. Yeah. So literally, I say that this is something that's just been part of me. Yeah. So, I went through high school and college, honor roll, all that great stuff. And then it wasn't until I graduated college and I decided, I'm going to go to law school. And I failed my LSAT for the first time. Something kind of started to take root. I don't know what it was. I don't. Well, if you can really fail the LSAT, you just get a low grade and nobody wants to look at you. And then around that same time, I found out I was pregnant. So now it's like, oh my goodness. Just completely wiped out all the other amazing things I've done up until that point. But I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm a failure. What am I going to do? I'm going to ruin this child's life, But meanwhile, again, I finished college. I was in a full-time position at that point in time. No reason to think like that. But my family supported me wholeheartedly. They said, no, go back, try again. I took the LSAT a second time. Yay, got the grade that everybody, where schools would actually consider me, got accepted into law school. So now, not realizing I'm now on another different track, I'm trying to keep up with everybody in my first year of law school with a 3-month-old baby.
Wow.
Yeah. So after about a year and change, my son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Okay. And I think that's when I started to just kind of completely, I can't be perfect. I can't juggle all these things. I literally have no control over these outside things that are happening to me. So this happened around the time that, for whatever reason, I decided to take 18 credits in law school. And I remember, I'm insane. The relationship I was in at the time was falling apart at the seams. And I remember the night of my meltdown, I was out trying to cope with my friends, and we had gone out to the club. We were at the diner afterwards, that whole scene. And I remember just crying over my nacho fries out of nowhere. And I came home and I was just inconsolable. And at the time, one of my best friends was staying with me. And I remember just looking at, this bottle of Advil PM, and I tried to grab it, and she kind of figured out what I was doing. She said, no, we're not doing this. We're not.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. And I tell her all the time, I owe her my life. But that was a point in time where I was officially diagnosed with major clinical depression and anxiety disorder. So a bit long-winded, I know, but just so that you understand how I got there. Trying to stay on this path of perfection, I ran myself into the ground. And I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't understand depression at that time. You know, as far as I was concerned, I wasn't allowed to be depressed because of all these things that had already been lined up for me. But this is why I say it doesn't discriminate. So it kind of maybe, well, no, I'm not going to make it seem like a moment. It shook me, turned everything upside down, because now, again, I have to fight with that realm of I'm not perfect. Like, perfect people don't have depression. What are you talking about? I'm like, no. Now you just really messed up, girl. See, that's what you get for being. That's what you get for being a perfectionist. Now look at you. Now you'll never be perfect. And so, and I wish I could say that was, the end of it. But it's at that point is when I was able to finally put a label on it and recognize it.
Yeah.
And I was, how old was I at that point? I was 25.
Wow.
So
all these things.
Right.
Wow.
And I think that's also when I had to start admitting to myself, okay, maybe you're also not a real grown-up, because at that point I was like, you can't tell me anything. Like, it's not as though, I'm a freshman in high school and all these things are coming down and I don't understand. No, I'm an adult, so I got my stuff together. No.
Yeah, 25.
Man,
yeah.
And you look, a lot of us looked at 25, no matter what side you're on, but you swore that 25 was your sweet spot year.
Yeah.
Like,
I was myself now. I'm still not where I want to be. Like, what is happening? But there's so much pressure, I feel like, from just like the media, and you want to be this person. You see these millionaires at like 21. It's like, why aren't you there yet?
Listen, even from this side of 25, I'm looking at, I'll scroll through social media, and even I had to stop with that. And you see some of, the heavy hitters, and they're like, at 23, I'm not where I thought I'd be, but I'm still so grateful. Girl, you just said you cleared $1 million this year. What you mean?
Right.
And I don't know who brainwashed us into thinking, again, 25 was that sweet spot.
Yeah.
But I really think it's also because we were just given a sort of outdated blueprint. So you were supposed to have all your degrees in place, right? Nobody ever really said, hey, college might not be for you. You were supposed to have, the perfect partner, the white picket fence, credit in order, everything figured out and settled in, 401k on point, and, stock portfolio together. And I always have to go through that mini rant, because I'm like, who gave us this? Who laid that out? Who?
Honestly, I think we gave ourselves. It's kind of crazy. We try to fit into the box of like what we should be.
And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So I always have to throw that little there. But so after I was officially diagnosed, I weighed 4'11", and I'm like, she drives me crazy, but my goodness, I love her. The one thing she always said was, I don't know who told you have to do it all. I don't know who told you have to be it all, but just take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
She said, stop. She goes, you've always created these mountains. Start with the itty bitty anthill. Mm-hmm. So what is it that you can do today? Me, I think, I make everything a catastrophe. I'm like, all I can do is get the baby to school and brush my teeth. She said, oh, victory. And I'm like,
that's right there.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's not good enough. She's like, you said you were going to brush your teeth. She goes, that's hygiene. That's self-care. She said, and you're still going to show up as a mom. That's already winning as far as I'm concerned. So I had to start breaking every day down that way and realize, you know what? I did put all these things on myself. What has to be the most pressing now? And it was, at that time, my son, he was just starting his therapies, and we're getting him sorted out because he was like 2.5 by that point. And with autism spectrum disorder, what they'll say is that the earlier that you're able to just start working with them, you know, the easier it'll become for them to be more autonomous later in life. Yeah. Because, you know, it's still kind of a new developmental delay that they're exploring. So, I mean, you have a lot of people who are reliant on their parents and on their caretakers into their 30s and 40s just because nobody knew what it was. The resources weren't there. So I made sure to just focus on pouring him into that.
Yeah.
And this is, again, where I have to be thankful. I got to be thankful that I'm in college because I was a psych major. My upper level courses, we studied autism spectrum disorder.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of able to pull from what I remember with that. And also, I think we established this, I'm also a big nerd. I'm as big as they come, and I'm proud. So I saved all my books from college. Well, the ones that I wasn't going to get a lot of money back on. I saved those ones. And so I remember just pulling those books out. I'm rereading through it, trying to make sense of it. I worked with his pediatrician to get him into programs. And I said, okay, this I can focus on, because this in and of itself, it was going to be full time.
Yeah.
And that also kind of helped me be able to feel like I was in control and feel as though I was not failing. So once I got him on, you know, I was like, okay, I can juggle this new reality of ours. Well, fine, I guess I'll start working on me, whatever that means. You know, so I did start, you know, going to see both a therapist and a psychiatrist. Much to my horror at the time, I was on antidepressants and started to, you know, feel like I can, again, handle it, because that is a form of self-care. Yeah. Going to therapy and taking care of this. I was born and raised in the AME church, so our pastor always gave us a way to put into perspective. She goes, yes, we can pray, but when you're sick, you go to the pharmacy to find something, right? When you have a headache, you find something to ease the headache. You just don't pray on it and hope for the best. She goes, that's the same kind of common sense I need you to bring to mental health. So I was able to handle that a lot better. But then, you know, the best laid plans, right? I went back to school, was able to graduate, started studying for the bar, failed the bar. Well, okay, no, we're not gonna try to go back to those feelings of I'm a failure.
Right.
I'm not perfect. You know, I remember the one thing my friend told me. She goes, well, you know, Michelle Obama failed her first time. I said, do you see what she is now? This is me now. I don't care what she did. I don't care.
It too.
Like, I wanted to pass now. So, I had to, again, navigate, because I'm still juggling my son, still trying to juggle me, and work through that landscape. Looking back on it now, I'm not sure, but it took me a good 3 years before it took me about maybe a good 3 years before I was actually sworn in. Yeah. Because I had to retake the bar. I had to retake the ethics portion of the bar. Again, while still juggling the baby, but while still trying to keep my mind and everything together and intact. And I will admit, at this time, I had stopped going to therapy. I figured, hey, you know, I can handle this right now. And especially, I hit a point where I'm like, well, overall health and wellness has to be my focus as well. Because I think I had kind of gotten on autopilot. Yeah. And I wasn't paying attention to the foods I ate. I wasn't exercising, you know, all those things that you hear. I wasn't doing it. So I said, well, let me try to incorporate a balanced diet. Let me try to incorporate some supplements that have been known to help in addition to this and have everything going on my own. So again, now we're on this path of the juggling act. And looking back, I can say I still didn't have it together. Because there was such a period of time between graduating from school and getting sworn in, it was very hard to find work. So I had to do the equivalent of lawyer temp jobs, or, you know, it's like data entry for lawyers. They call it document review. Yeah. Nothing against any of us who have to do that, but sometimes you feel like you are in the dregs of the earth when you take on some of those cases. You have some people who are like, I'm just here for the time being. You have other people who are like, well, this is just what's keeping my money going while I work on other ventures. And then you have people who are just like, my life means nothing. This is where I am. Yeah. The world is black and disgusting. So
about how they look at it.
It really is. And I had to fight against falling into the dark side of it and still trying to stay on the upside, even though I couldn't see where my upside was going to come in. And then, you know, 2015, I get sworn in. It's fantastic. No, because I was so far removed from law school graduation, it's now difficult to find employment in firms and with companies that were interested in me before. My initial area of interest was entertainment law and intellectual property. And I was doing a fantastic job. I had taken entertainment law at the time, he was legal counsel for Cash Money. So I was able to work a lot of contacts that I had learned from being in that circle. So I had contacts with MTV and with True TV and Motown, Universal, and I was like, oh, I'm on track. But 3 years out after graduation, oh, well, I'm sworn in now. They're like, okay, that's awesome. Let us know how you do. And I'm like, what? Wow. I don't even understand what that means. So now I'm trying to navigate, where do I fit in? I've been obsessed with law since I was about 7 years old. So I had built, you know, a good amount of traction in several areas of practice. So now I'm just like a ping pong, like this. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I could do unemployment cases. I mean, thank goodness I had friends and loved ones who were like, listen, I got denied for unemployment. Do you want to come down with me to the hearing? Sure, let's get you hooked up. So I did some of those. I volunteered a lot. I volunteered doing like housing law clinics. I volunteered with a nonprofit where I was able to do housing law, wills, trust and estates. With my son and his own ongoing journey, I was able to get experience doing special education law, but none of these things still matched what I thought the journey was going to be. Right. Because again, on that blueprint, it's like, nope, you go to law school, you kill it, you get your beautiful 6-figure paying job, don't worry about those loans because those will be taken care of in 2 years and you're good. And I'm just like this. Like, well, where's my 6 figures? Where's my golden carrot? Somebody lied to me. So I will say that also triggered me yet again. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't recognizing them as triggers. For me to be able to point that out now, this has been a whole lot of work. But I didn't realize that all these things were just pinging me off and setting off these little voices in my head saying, nope, you're a failure. Nope, you're still not perfect. So it was very, very discouraging some days to know that I was going, even though I was practicing law, it didn't match what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, the income didn't match what I thought it would be. So I'm like, oh, honey, I joke around. My family is from the low country of South Carolina, so we're very beachy. So whenever I get to those things, I say, oh, Lord, you in trouble now.
Yeah. With all these like things that you're going through and these layers and these pressures of trying to be this ideal person, how did you come to that point where it's like, okay, I can't do this all. I just have to accept where I'm at and who I am right now.
This is where it gets embarrassment. It did not happen until 2 years ago.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with
you would think at some point,
yeah,
right? You would think at some point you would be like, "Oh, that sounds like a ding, ding, ding moment," and I'm like, "No, you just not perfect. No, just truck, just truck it." And it's like, it wasn't until 2018, my goodness, where things should have been perfect, right? I had fiance, I had this really dope apartment. My son, he's even doing great. They were in the process of mainstreaming him in school, but there was still so much happening behind the scenes. With that relationship, my hours I was working at the time were ridiculous. I was almost at 80 hours a week at work.
Wow.
Yeah. And everything reached a boiling point. That relationship fell apart. My son's father, he had already, me and him had broken up when my son was about 2. He had gotten remarried, relocated to the West Coast, and unfortunately, may they rest in peace, they had to deal with a stillborn delivery. So my son is falling apart because he doesn't understand death in that context. And then everything around me shattered. And I promise you, I had to just drop everything. I couldn't handle it anymore. And next thing I know, my strength and my resilience, I said, I don't want any of it. And I literally just remember being in the house and I'm drinking and I see those pills, like, again, Motrin PM. And I'm like, I just want to sleep. And next thing I know, I'm waking up in a hospital bed.
Wow.
I had been unconscious for 18 hours.
Really?
And apparently I'd also stopped breathing.
Wow.
So I will say that was when I finally got my wake-up call. I am beyond grateful that my son was not here at the time. He had actually gone to visit his dad a few days prior. So, until, he watches this, however, however many years down the line, he doesn't even know that this is a thing, because his thing is, that's my mommy, she's strong, and she's my back. He doesn't even know about that, but I think I had finally reached the point where it's like, I cannot do this. I cannot continue to juggle these weights. I can't continue to try to be what people want me to be. I can't even continue to try to be what I think they want me to be.
Yeah.
And I had to really take a look and be like, who are you?
Yeah.
And I had no clue. It was terrifying. I truly had no clue. Outside of the Ashlee who was the amazing friend to everybody. Like, I was the drop everything, be at your side friend. I'll give you my last dime friend. I am, well, in my mind, I'm not, but everyone said, you are super mom extraordinaire. My grandmother had passed during this time, and I was very close to her. And, they were like, I can't even say I'm Lucille's hot girl. She would always call me a hot girl because, I'm very curvy. So she'd be like, oh, you got a hot body girl. So it was like, who am I? And I realized that for whatever reason, I was given a clean slate to figure it out. Apart from being a mom, apart from being in a relationship, apart from being a daughter, who am I as a woman? So I started finally going to therapy again and taking it very seriously. to kind of work through that. And I had to just say, you know what? I am smart. This is where I had to say, I am a nerd and I'm very proud of it. Nothing makes me happier to be in the house rereading my Harry Potter series and then watching the movies and then jumping back and, just reading my weird sci-fi books and looking up random bits of information that nobody wants. I love to discover information, so I'm resourceful. As much as I don't like the word, I am strong because I choose to still get up every day.
Yeah.
And I do still choose, even when I don't want to. And I always tell you, trust me, there's so many days I don't want to. My sister has called it my hide under the bed days because I just want to pull those covers over and I don't know, nothing out there makes me want to show up.
That could be a strength too. Like, I can't take it today. I'm just going to take time away. Because I think as Black women, we're like stigma to be strong and we're super women and we're like everyone to everybody. So the fact that you're able to like recognize that is human, it's real, it's good. And so, like, did you feel like you had to redefine what strong was for you versus what it was in the past?
Exactly, because I do remember reading that article. I forget if it was in Essence or something else about Black women and the superwoman syndrome. And I had to say, you know what? My superpower is that I'm flawed.
Yeah.
And that I'm not going to get it right. And therefore, that is what makes me a superwoman.
I love it.
So it's like, so that's how I started redefining myself and figuring out who I was. So it's like, you know what? Yep, I flubbed this, I dropped that, and that's fine. So that's what's going to make me a superwoman. But then something else that came about from all of this, I was maybe about 2 months out of the hospital in 2018. And again, I'm like, well, this is what I have to work with. Let me just at least focus on this. Because before it was like, let me focus on my child and then let's focus on this first. Well, what is this comprised of? What keeps this going? And what's interesting is that around that time, my son said, Mommy, I think we should be vegetarian so we could be strong and healthy. Again, he has no clue what's going on. And I thought he was weird because, child, like I said, my family's from the South. We love our pork chops. We love our chicken. We love
green beans, collard greens, all that.
All of it. And like one of my favorite meals, it was oxtails with mac and cheese and the gravy on top. Like, what do you mean we're going to be vegetarian? So I started to play around in the kitchen and I'm like, all right, this is something he really wants. And then this also will tie into my full body wellness. So let me start working on this. And because, again, I was straight out the hospital, I'm trying to just focus on me. My sister said, you know what? I know you're getting unemployment right now, but I think you should sell some of your recipes. And I'm like, I'm horrible because I don't know how many of us have seen that meme where it's Keisha Cole and she's like, I got fish dinners outside for $5 to $10. Like,
yeah.
For some reason, that's what came to my mind. I'm like, I don't want to be selling the fish dinners with my recipes next to it. She's like, just trust me, you're onto something. She goes, Ashlee, you've always been an amazing cook. She said, maybe you should try to do that. She said, and I've always had all my recipes both written down on my computer and in a binder. I used to just collect them and then remix them and play around. And she said, yo, you know what? We're going to do one even better because you've been in the kitchen just cooking up a storm. She said, and that is your therapy. She said, let's just turn this into a book. She said, I'll look up how to go about crowdfunding and let's do it that way. And I'm like, what? All right, fine, whatever. Fine, dragging my feet on it. And I remember one day she was like, give me a name for it. And I'm like, for what? Like, you're still on this? I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be one of these GoFundMe babies. Somebody help me. She's like, no, seriously. She goes, this is something that has been coming from your heart and your soul. This is something that has been your therapy. And I've personally never seen anything like it. What would you call it? And I sat there and I thought for a little bit and I said, Naked Soul.
Yeah.
And they joke around because I'm somebody, I like to walk around the house in like shorts and a t-shirt. I hate to have on full outfits in the house. They were like, you would say something when naked, wouldn't you? And then next thing I know, that became my next baby.
Oh.
And it's like now all of a sudden I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm just pouring all of these things that were once therapeutic in me now into this brand. And it's still crazy it's insane for me to realize it, because I'm like, this is not something I wanted to take on. This is not something that I necessarily wanted to share from people. This was something that I literally turned to in my darkest moments. Like, listen, law don't make sense. Parenting doesn't make sense. Nothing else makes sense. But in my family, and especially the way my grandmother had us up under her all the time, cooking is the one thing you always turn to.
Yeah.
No matter what. You still had to feed your family, and your family is the way you show love. And that was the way you showed love. So that was my way of also showing love to myself. So for me to take something so personal and now put it on a platform like, hey, everybody, by the way, this is my darkest, this is what bird from my darkest, lowest place. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, I didn't have much faith in it at the time. I'm like, nobody wants my little vegan recipes. Like, I don't even want them most of the time. I still want my fried chicken. She's like, you just sat there and made vegan fried chicken. Like, what do you mean? You're doing great. So it's very interesting how from a place of darkness and depression and literally the lowest part of me, I was able to pull myself up out of it by starting to reflect on who I am and by deciding, you know what, you're flawed and you can still be loved. And I started pouring that love into myself through my food, through my cooking, and then it became a brand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who does that?
That's beautiful though, because you're able to it's almost like a source of healing. And then through that, you can help other people heal, which is just amazing, honestly. How do you feel like your brand and your recipes have impacted the people attached to it?
So, I can start with the nucleus and then I can go to community, right? Because the nucleus of it, my son is like, so you're not a lawyer anymore. I'm like, well, technically I'm still licensed. I said, we're not giving that up. Mommy literally went through blood, sweat, and tears for that. We're not holding on to that. He goes, so now you're just viral? I'm like,
viral. That's so cute.
I'm like, if that's what you want to call it. He's like, okay. So, because he sees me in the house and now I'm taking pictures and I'm recording tutorials. And then he also starts to realize, because he's had his times, I miss chicken. Can't we just have pizza? And I'm like, well, I understand. We're not only doing this because of the brand. We're doing this to be healthy. He's like, right. Okay. Healthy. And then, so he's even now taking upon himself to stay on top of it, even when he's at school, when, I'm not around, he makes those choices for himself. And now my family, they see how committed I am and how I'm kind of working with it to keep it, affordable, low cost, but still for the betterment of self. It's not about dollars. It's not about a trend. It's literally for betterment of self. They've started to convert. My sister, she's a beast. She's actually full-blown, alkaline, Dr. Sebi kind of vegan. That's not me. That's not me. I'm like, no offense to anybody who is alkaline vegan, but I'm like, I love my broccoli, and so does my child, so we are not capable.
All the way there, yeah. We're at where we're at right now.
So, and it's funny to see even my parents, they're like, well, what are you going to make this week? Can you make extra and bring it this way? So I'm glad to know that I'm able to help my family now be healthier and more aware of their wellness. And then within community, from day one of my brand, I knew I didn't want to be one of these. And again, it's no offense. I didn't want to be a social media brand where everything is perfectly curated and the face behind the brand looks like they have it all together, because I think we just laid it out. There's no such thing, okay? I am flawed, and if anything, trying to have it all together is what got me in that dark place. So I've always been very transparent with them. Like, yes, these are the recipes, but let me explain to you how we got here. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about self-care. Let's talk about the supplements you can take to stay on it. let's talk about the brain-gut connection and how what we eat is what actually has an impact on how our neurotransmitters fire. Because a lot of mental health, it is, it has to do with our neurotransmitters. Everyone's like, oh, because it's like psychological, emotional. It's all because the little synapses are firing the wrong messages. Like everything is firing wrong across the synapses. That's how we got here. But if we're cognizant of what we eat and what we feed our bodies, in addition to journaling, in addition to meditating, in addition to exercising, in addition to just being authentic, we might actually be able to get a handle on some of these challenges.
Exactly. And I love that you're creating like this real authentic space on social media that we rarely see. Sometimes, like you said, no offense, but it's reality is that a lot of people create these perfection brands, like you were saying, that, we just really don't connect to. We just like how it looks. It's glamorous. We don't know what they go through. And so we try to live up to the standard. And like trying to be the standard, losing yourself and creating this brand, how do you feel like it shaped your identity today that you can kind of own and walk in confidently?
I tell everybody, if it seems as though I have any iota of self-confidence, it's because I'm being me every bit of the day. Like, like there are times I'll hop on the stories, and I might have my hair wrapped up in a head tie and I'm in my sweatshirt and I'm like, y'all, let's talk today. How would you hold it up?
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, sometimes in the stories, I'll show me making whatever I'm cooking up for that night and I'm dropping stuff and, making a mess on the stove. I'm like, y'all see this? This is what we call real life. Okay. I'm like, cause I know what I'm doing in the kitchen, but y'all just saw how that can of beans partially fell off the counter because this is real life.
Right. This isn't like even a cooking show.
Right. Or even letting them know, this was like a few months ago, y'all, I wanted to hook you guys up with some stuff, but I'm a little clumsy at times and I broke my toe. and what I was very nervous to put myself in all my glory, so to speak, out there, because again, everyone is focused on, again, the perfectionism and perfectly curated content. And I just refused. I'm like, I have spent the last 29, 30 years of my life trying to be perfect, going back to kindergarten when I messed up on the sealed worksheet. I don't have perfect for y'all anymore. I don't. But what I can give you is me being genuine, me messing up. Sometimes I might have a face breakout. Y'all gonna see that, okay? This is our friend for the next few days. Holla at her, okay? Sometimes I'm on my stories, you hear my son, and he's like beatboxing in the background or doing whatever he is. Yep, that's him, y'all. He's not feeling life today. He has little respect for the process today. And what I'm always trying to tell them is be you at every point. Please. I tell them all the time, progress, not perfection. Because I have some people, I fell off the wagon and I had some cheese. I said, okay, but didn't you you tried though, right? I'm like, how long did you say you tried? I went about a week and a half. Girl, yes, for your week and a half. Let's go. This is wonderful. This is fantastic. On one of my favorite clapbacks I've come across in forums and groups, somebody said, well, if you have to say you're vegan on and off, just tell them, like they are in their relationships on and off. So.
Ooh, been vegan 10 years on and off.
So you can let them know, yeah, I've been vegan for 3 months. Now I'll say the same way those couples be like, yeah, we've been together for 3 years, but they forget to say on and off. Like, all right.
What happens? No one, like you said, no one is perfect. And you just gotta do you. And then people will see that, they'll see that connection through just, you being yourself. And that's why I love that you share your story, because it's just like somebody watching and be like, you know what, I'm not perfect. I'm tired of being perfect.
I'm exhausted. That's what I tell everybody.
Exactly.
Tired. No, we can't do this. And I just always tell everyone, I hope it inspires you to be the same, because again, perfectionism is what got me to that lowest point. I don't want that for anybody else.
Yeah.
You think that, well, I have these struggles, and it's true because I've seen it throughout my family, my extended family. Maybe home life isn't that stable. Maybe you do have problems with addiction, whatever form that might be. Maybe you have toxic parents. Maybe there's, molestation. Maybe there's abuse. So everyone thinks that in and of itself is your baseline in order to have to deal with mental health challenges, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's just as simple as the fact that you've been on social media all day, and you seeing everybody looking like they living their best life. They're not. You forget when they stop recording, they have to go. They gotta wash that day off for them, just like everybody else. That's for men and women. Yeah. Or you have some people who literally will only post their perfect pictures. For what? You're like, oh, you're the funny one, and that's the strong one. And then, okay, that's cool. But guess what? I can be the funny one, and I can be the strong one, and I can still be a hot mess. And that is a beautiful thing. It's part of the human experience. And I can thank my therapist for that. So
Love it.
I can't. Even though, and I will say this, even though she would probably say I ghosted her because it's been a while since I went. But yes, my dear Dr. Henry, she was the one therapist I finally came across who made sense and who helped me really start breaking through all of these blocks that I placed against myself. Yeah. So that's why I just always want to share those with everybody else. Yes, you're a hot mess. Good for you. It is part of this experience.
Yep, you still be bomb and be a hot mess and just
there we go.
You can't be flawless. Be flawful and beautiful at the same time. That's what makes us beautiful people in general.
Exactly.
What would the Ashlee now tell the Ashlee back then to help her cope at her lowest times?
Oh, goodness. Ashlee now would say to Ashlee back then, honey, just let go.
Yeah.
Because I tried so hard to keep that perfectionist facade. Let go. It's okay that assignment got handed in late. It's okay that relationship ain't going the way you want. Let it go, because you'll be so free. I had a very, very bad tendency to hold on to these things because I was trying to maintain the perfection. So the relationship couldn't fall apart. The grades couldn't slip. And nobody else put these things on me but me.
Yeah.
It's okay that you wanted to treat yourself to 2 bags of kettle cooked chips tonight. That's fine. That is okay. It's all right. Yes, you have cellulite. Get it going, girl. Love it. Embrace it. Just let go. That's the one thing I would say, and know that everything is just so beautiful, because I would turn everything, I said this before, I would turn everything into a catastrophe. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Like, honey, you're going to turn out to be so beautiful just as you are now. Like, not to quote Bruno Mars, but he had it right. Yeah. You're amazing just the way you are. As is. I don't care what you think it is. Well, my skin is jacked. You're still beautiful. You know what I mean? My weight ain't where I want it to be. You're still beautiful. This ain't going the way it is. You're still beautiful. But it's really a matter of meditating and understanding yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I don't like to go out. That's beautiful. I do like to go out. That's beautiful too. Yeah. You have to call every part of yourself beautiful, and you are. So just let go, because you're still beautiful just as you are. You're still on point just as you are. That's the one thing I would tell me. And the way I see it is that, well, younger me would have to look at me now and be like, oh, but you're popping. Okay, I'll listen to you.
But we had to go a long road before we could get to where we are now.
What?
And that's what I love about, like, just your whole experience is showing everyone, like, hey, be you, just be you. It's not perfect. Let it happen. If you mess up, it's perfectly fine. It's very fine.
Please be you. That's all I can say. Please, please be you. Don't hold on to toxicity in any form, whether it's the toxicity you put on yourself or obligation is putting on you or another person is putting on you. And I don't care who that is. Well, it's school. Leave school. There are so many different opportunities out here. Then school isn't for you. That's fine. But that's Bay. Okay, Bay is looking a little funky right now. You got to let him go too. Or you got to or you got to let her go. Whoever Bay is, got to let her go. Well, I think that it might be my mama. Mama got to go too. Let mama know you love her, but you won't love her from a distance. Wherever that toxicity is, release it. And that's how you're able to walk as your most like really as your most authentic self.
Yes, I love your realness. I love, like, you don't bite your tongue. You tell us how it is. How can we continue to follow you and keep up with you so we can get a little bit of this, you know, when we need it, when we're not feeling good and we need that realness?
So, and it's going to sound like a shameless plug, but I actually pour all of this into my brand. I promise you, this is what goes directly into my brand on the stories, and that's where I'm actually most active in my posts. So you can find me on any social media platform at Naked, as if, you know, we don't have any clothes on, Naked Soul Cooking. You can go to nakedsoulcooking.com. You can find me on IG, all one word, Naked Soul Cooking, and same thing on Facebook. And I promise you, this is me. I actually have family members who are a little upset because I post more on that than I do my personal account. So, but I promise that this is just who I am all across the board, and I pour into it more frequently through that channel. So,
yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashlee.
Of course, from one Ashley to another.
Always. I'm telling you.
Yes.
No, again, no offense to anybody else, but I'm telling you, some of these Ashleys, honey, you just,
you know, no matter how you spell it, we all good.
listen.
But thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, and I know that somebody will see themselves and really just be motivated to just be themselves, you know, because that's all you can be. But
I agree.